Well, it's right.
But we are cutting you off.
Okay.
So let us run out of time. Sorry, but rules are rules.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Techolia. Thank you very much. We did allow an extra minute, by the way.
Techolia, I'll present on behalf of Techolia. Can you just confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, and we can hear you well. Perhaps put yourself on presentation mode.
Yeah, I'll go into full presentation mode.
Thank you.
I think for Techolia, the background there is we're a small island with just gross domestic product of about 18,000, many receiving remittances from external donations. We're very reliant on cash, very limited alternatives, low stability on power, poor network infrastructure. And I think as we launched the CBDC 6 months down, we had a calamity where extreme weather, wiped us out. So our citizens lost trust and confidence in the CBDC, and we had to now go back to the drawing board and address that issue of low adoption. And for us to do that, we started with literacy campaigns where lack of CBDC literacy was identified to be the main issue. So we went flat out to sensitize our citizens about literacy and the uses of CBDC. And then we realized that the initial launch was a little bit premature. So we leveraged on a strong value proposition where we actually looked at the tangible benefits for all the citizens on the island. Once we identified that, we looked at the telecom infrastructure and the gaps that it had. And obviously the poor connectivity, those were the main issues that led to the low adoption. But coupled with that, we realized that there was insufficient change management where this cash reliant island, was supposed to switch to a CBDC. So these issues were causing low adoptions, and we addressed these. And then there was lack of general awareness, and then ultimately non-implementation of models that allowed for offline functionality. In terms of the immediate solutions we looked at just bringing in special incentives of using central bank digital currencies. We looked at issues of tax deductions where government payments would be incentivized. We incentivized scholarships from government. We incentivized government to business payments so that we can have a whole lot more people get on board and use these central bank digital currencies. But also we embarked on sensitization and more communications. And then there was misunderstanding between private and public money. So our road shows and communications made sure that we stressed the fact that the central bank digital currency was a digital currency, same as cash and fiat, and it was different with the private money. Then we looked at partnerships with ecosystem players in the jurisdictions. We looked at partnering with mobile and financial services providers, provided for interoperability between mobile financial services, allowed for channels where disputes could be resolved. And then ultimately, because our infrastructure was fragile, we embarked on rebuilding the infrastructure, investing in more stable forms of power. We looked at improving the resilience of network connectivity. We looked at options of backup power, solar power. And then ultimately, we segmented the rollout where we targeted first early adopters, which were tax savvy users. And then we're leveraging on that so that they can promote that in their communities. They can promote that with their parents. They can promote that with family and friends. And we're hoping we can have more adoption based on that. In terms of the long-term adjustments and solutions, we embarked on ongoing initiatives where we can promote education awareness on CBDC and just make sure our citizens understand that the central bank digital currency is legal tender, same as cash, but it's just digital. And we're hoping that can increase the adoption levels. Also partnered with government to make sure we come up with resilient infrastructure, build up backup systems, build up generators and solar, so that in an event of extreme weather, we are more resilient and make sure this telco infrastructure stands and the CBDC can operate. We also looked at developing new functionalities around CBDC, make it programmable so that we can target our underprivileged users where we can use it for distributed welfare. But as we distribute that welfare, we want to control what those subsidies are used for. We're looking at agriculture subsidies, social transfer subsidies, but program them in such a way that those are not misused for other things like gambling or alcohol, and implement offline models where this CBDC can be used even where there's the infrastructure is fragile, where they can use secure elements. The country didn't have a national ID, so we are also working in partnership with government to make sure we introduce national identity and use that as the main onboarding infrastructure for the central bank digital currencies for know your customer purposes. In terms of the lessons learned and advice to other countries, similar islands in the nation, we are encouraging them to look at the use cases and have a clear value proposition where they can actually do experiments, pilots, if they can, the CBDC, to see how much adoption they can get before they can go for a full rollout. We're also encouraging other islands to embark on financial education where the literacy levels are low, continue educating the users, and partner with the designers of the central bank digital currency so that even the design features are easy enough for citizens to use to increase that onboarding. We're also implementing advanced functionalities such as programmability and offline. So these have to be clear use cases even from the outset, just to make sure they know exactly how they want this CBDC to come into place. And then we're advising our neighboring islands to look at the bottoms-up approach, where they consider the end users in terms of their ideas, how they want to use this central bank digital currency, how to compare with other payment systems platforms. We're thinking of rolling out general servers, seminars, conferences to make sure we onboard our citizens. And then we're saying risk management is key. Put in measures of disaster recovery, put in measures of business continuity so that you avoid disruption of this systemically important platform. And then we're encouraging dialogue with other international bodies like the World Bank, the IMF, other central banks to just get the lessons learned and see how best they can implement their CBDC. And then we're also looking at other special incentives for greater adoption. This has to be done and realized by the seminars, by the conferences, by the research. And we're encouraging our neighboring islands to exhaust all these channels. But ultimately, we're encouraging them to build, robust and resilient infrastructure so that if there's extreme weather, they can be more resilient, avoid disruption, and that way make sure the adoption levels are high and you have more citizenry on